So this is a high-tech kind of way of asking questions. So please note down this number, and you can ask your questions on this number via SMS. They will go to Bala and his team. They will integrate the questions, club together similar questions, and then give it to me, and then we will take it further from there. Okay? And just a little reminder, you're allowed to smile and you're allowed to breathe, because breath is the connection. Okay. Just before I invite Munjay to share a few words, can you just turn around to your partner and salute and recognize the being, the spirit in them, look into their eyes and do a deep namaste, honoring and recognizing the spirit. Can you do that right now, please? Just turn around and honor and remember the infinite love, the infinite compassion and grace. That is who we really are. So just a little reminder of that, and with those few words, I hand it over to Munjay to say a few starting comments, and then we'll get started. So Munjay, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Arun. It's very uncomfortable talking while sitting on a chair, but I'll try to do my best. I'm used to of speaking on the podium or standing there.
So you can stand. You can stand. You can
Actually,
stand
that's better.
Right away.
I find it very odd sitting there and,
right
and
away,
talking.
Right away.
So
No problem.
that's better.
And Shivani, you can also stand if you want.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. That makes
Please
makes it very easy. So, before I speak about this, I must tell you the story of how I got involved with this. I was in Mahabaleshwar in a session about something to do with HR, and there was like a panel, and Arun was on the same panel, and his last name is very unique, Waklu. And I meet and we introduce each other, and he says, "Hello, I am Arun Waklu." And in my mind, I had known a Waklu 20 years ago, 23 years ago actually, in 1992. I was in Tata Steel, and we had a new training in charge. His name was Bharat Waklu. And I'm like, he's a Waklu, there's no way in hell he would know another Bharat Waklu. And I'm like, by any chance, do you know Bharat? And before I could finish my sentence, he says, he's my brother. So it's a sheer coincidence that I meet Bharat's brother after 23 years in Mahabaleshwar. And I finally connected with him, my training in charge in Tata Steel. So thank you. You never know where life takes you. You never know where you end up. You never know who you meet. So my journey is that I want to meet people. I want to talk to people. I want to understand what people are. So when when he said that he should come and join this, I wasn't sure. I've never spoken in this. I'm not a overtly religious person. I'm not sure I qualify as a spiritual person as well. But I'll share what I am, and I'll share a little bit about what my perspective of how you deal with what you do in a corporate world. So I grew up in a very small town, Ranchi, which is now known thanks to Mr. Dhoni. Right? Earlier, once I landed in Mumbai, and I came out, and the taxi guy said, "Where are you coming from?" And I said, "Ranchi." And his first reaction was, "Oh, Pakistan flight has come?" I was like, no, Ranchi is in Bihar. So now I don't have to do that. People know, Ranchi, oh, you're from Dhoni's town. And if you're in Chennai, you get a special welcome, right? Thanks to CSK. Oh, you're from Ranchi, great, I'll take you. So, I don't have to do that. But when I was growing up, it was very interesting because it's a very small town. My dad used to work in an industrial factory as an artisan. We grew up in a colony. We played all the games that I had no idea who invented those games, but we used to play that. I used to spend 2 months in a village every summer. And I thought my best teaching came from the village. I used to be around people who had never been to school. They never understood this whole education. But they were brilliantly wise people. And I'll tell you what it means. They taught me barter. I could take a grain and go and buy anything I wanted. There were not many things to buy. So it taught me that I don't need a lot of things to be happy. 2 months in a village without electricity, of course there was no TV, there was no radio at those days. Life was very simple. The games were very simple. You could go in a pond and take a swim. You can go into a canal and take a swim. You can ride a buffalo. Have you done that? Done that? Buffalo rides? Right? It's very... Yeah, maybe you should try that. It's cathartic. I can tell you, it's cathartic. You sit on a buffalo, the buffalo is not going anywhere. You are not going anywhere. You don't need breathing exercise, you learn it. Because it's like nothingness. Okay, there's nothing to do, you're sitting on a buffalo, you're not doing anything. A lot of these training actually helped me a lot when I went to college. So I went to BHU to do my engineering. And I was suddenly, the first time I came out of my hometown. If you're from Bihar, it's very difficult to adjust in a town which is not used to of people from Bihar. So I went to BHU to study doing engineering, and I learned that it's okay. I needed to discover myself. It's okay to be what you are, because you're suddenly in a place which is very different. And I was doing very well in school, and then I went to this college, and then everybody was like me. Everybody is as good as I am, or maybe better. So how do you compete? So we learned to compete there. Then we started working, started to do a job. But when you start working, I realized that I need those little joys. The same little joys which gave me happiness when I was in a village, or when I was a kid. So I looked for those little joys. So what I would do is I would play football on a weekend. Sometimes I would, I watch a lot of movies. I love movies. Every weekend I am in the East Square watching a movie. Just because it gives me a time to reflect upon. To me, cinema is, and I quote Anurag Kashyap, it's not my quote, I met him once, and he told me cinema is the new literature. It's the visual literature. It has layers. The classic cinema is a layers, not the Bollywood khichdi that you get. Okay? Classic cinema has layers. So every time you watch, you understand a new meaning of it. And that's why they're literature. So I watch that kind of movies. I also watch Bollywood movies. It's good fun. But it gives me a time to reflect upon. These are my little joys. But little joys can't help you if you are in office for 7 days a week. If you are working 48 hours at a stretch and you have a deadline to meet. I'm sure, have people experienced this? Right? No? Okay. Slept in offices, on sofa, tables, chairs, right? For days at stretch, continuously. Right? You started from home thinking, I got to go on this client meeting, and you get a call, you end up in office, and then a wife is calling you, your son has 104 fever. Little joys don't help at that time. Then you need to look deeper, and I look deeper as in what are we trying to do. And you try to understand yourself, you try to understand the environment that you operate, and try to find a purpose. So I'm not a spiritual person, as I said up front. I was telling Arun that I see myself as, without understanding that term very well, I will stick my neck out and say Karma Yogi. What it means is that you do because you must. And why you do is because there is a purpose. And that purpose is your purpose. It may not be your organizational purpose. It need not be your society purpose. It is very individual purpose. You choose that purpose. As humans, we have power to choose. And you choose that. Once you have made the choice, everything else becomes sensible. It makes sense. Everything makes sense. Working 7 days a week, sleeping in office, not able to eat, have no weekends off, stretching because you're trying to create something. You want to contribute to something larger. And at times, we end up losing. So you got to have a balance, and I've tried to do that. Have a balance between the larger purpose and the little joys. If you miss any of these two, it becomes very hard, because end of the day, we got to work. And that's how I see myself as a Karma Yogi, that we go to work, you have to find these little joys, but you have to have a higher purpose. And that higher purpose is not about your company's goal. It's not about, you got to choose what your higher purpose is. And I can share what my higher purpose is. So I used to work in US. I was there for 4 years in a city called Chicago. Yeah, yes. Thank you. So just 1 minute. So this is the last story I'll tell. I was in Chicago and I used to work there in a small company, and we were doing consulting. And I chose to move back to India at that point in time because I thought that India had a great potential to become a technology leader. And I think today India has come a long way in becoming a technology leader, but we have a long way to go. We still become a SI leader. We haven't become a technology leader. In world, when people think that they want to do complex hardware technology, they go to Taiwan or China. Earlier Taiwan, now China. When they want to do complex software, they don't necessarily come to India at this point in time. And that's my purpose. I want to make sure that one day, anybody in the world who wants to do software should think India and come to India. So that drives everything for me. That's done.
Thank you very much for those thoughts. The system is working, right? So good. Thank you. And keep sending in the questions. So first question that we have here is, all that we are saying is great. And sister, you could respond to this. But how do we sustain this? This is fantastic right now, and we get the ideas about breathing and about acceptance, but how do we sustain that? So any thoughts on that, please?
Anything that we need to sustain. If you want physical health, your doctor will say good diet and exercise daily. How many days a week?
Every day.
Once in a while, and I'm not going to get the result. Similarly, when we meet like this, we hear knowledge, we hear practices, experiences. It sets us thinking. It will connect to most of us because it is our original comfortable self. The only thing is to go back and to make it a daily practice. How many of us read the newspaper or watch a news channel in the morning before leaving to work? Do we have time to do that? Or on the phone? The worst thing that you could do to yourself is do that early in the morning. The worst thing. And if you love yourself, just experiment that. Don't do that to yourself early in the morning. Don't flood yourself with pain, terror, even though it's the truth, but I don't need to flood myself with it first thing in the morning. The morning, the mind is like a blotting paper. In the first 2.5 hours of the morning, our absorption power is extremely high. Whatever we read, whatever we listen to, it's just going to go and sink in and become the foundation for my thinking process. And if all that I'm going to take in at that time is violence, pain, terror, riots, sensex crashing, and everything happening, it's going to be very difficult to be able to remain stable and positive throughout the day, because that's the only thing that I'm going to create. So even a simple practice, what we have adopted at the Brahma Kumaris, newspaper shifts to latter part of the day. The later you read it, the safer you are. The later you read it, the safer you are. So probably in the evening, and sometimes even if you don't read it, you'll realize you don't miss anything. Major baatein to yahan wahan se pata hi chal jayenge. Today it's become a status symbol that I have 2 newspapers coming daily. I have 3. It's nothing really to be proud of. So at the Brahma Kumaris, the only thing that we do is half an hour in the morning of taking in like this, something very pure, powerful information, thoughts. We do a TV program called Awakening, which some of you must have seen. I've got a lot of people sharing their experiences who watch that daily. 25 minutes of listening to something positive, and people have come back with results like overcoming depression, medicines which they were taking for a very long time. Some people were contemplating suicide. Many people were on the verge of divorce, people having help with parenting their children. All that they did, the magic was done by them only by taking in 25 minutes of listening to something of a different quality. And one day it set me thinking, if 25 minutes of positive media can create this effect that it can cure your depression, then something can also create depression. Media has that power. So if we could just devote 15 to 20 minutes to ourselves in the morning before we leave, just for taking in something, whatever you choose, read, listen to something very pure and powerful, contemplate on it for 5 minutes, make it your property, and go back and start using it into work immediately. So it's your daily morning breakfast, your diet of something very pure. It's going to work 100%.
Mr. Shivani, thank you very much. Very related thought which was asked by someone is, how do our thoughts decide our future? I just want to build on what Sister said. The thoughts are like seeds. The kind of thoughts that you sow is really what's going to manifest as emotions. Emotions lead to actions, and actions create the future. So if you do this practice of an hour of power in the morning, exercise, meditation, pranayam, good thoughts, it helps you the whole day. The next one is for you, Munjay. You know, how do you get entrepreneurs to keep up their motivation when things aren't going well? Or for example, in business, you have ups and downs. So very briefly, how do you kind of keep your energy up when things are not going well?
This is, I've never been an entrepreneur. Maybe once I tried something while I was still working at Tata Steel. It didn't take off for a different reason. But it's no different than, I can visualize it, no different than when we are chasing things. It's about having a larger purpose. If your entrepreneurship is about putting food on the table, then eventually you will run out of your energy. But if it is about changing the world, if it is about changing something, bringing value to either a community or to the world around you, then, and I've seen a lot of people like that who never run out of energy. You may not have money, you might choose to shut down, even if you don't have, you don't have money, so you shut down. But you will not, drain yourself. So, just have a purpose.
Thanks a lot. Okay, Sister Shivani, many questions here are talking about what do I do when other people are not loving me as much as I'm loving them, or the attraction is going down, or they are talking angrily to me and they have expectations from me. How do I deal with others' negativity, others' expectations, and others' thoughts and all that? How do I deal with that?
Defeat them.
Uh-huh. How would you do that?
Don't let them defeat you. If someone comes and is angry, shouting at me, one is they will overpower me. आप सब ने ये experience किया होगा कि कभी-कभी when you meet someone, you say अच्छा भला mood था, इनसे मिलके खराब हो गया. Anyone experience that? Yes. And कभी-कभी we experience कि मेरा mood खराब था, इनसे मिलके अच्छा हो गया. We've experienced both of them, and which means when two people meet, it's a game of an energy exchange, where one's energy is going to overpower another one. अगर उनके गुस्से से हम अशांत हो सकते हैं, so why is it not possible कि हमारी शांति से वो शांत हो जाए? Possible? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. So one thing is just to remember that when somebody is angry, they're not really angry at me, they're throwing out their sanskar of anger. That's very important. And take up my role, that my role is to heal them. And the easiest way to heal them is for me to remain calm and peaceful and handle the situation. When it comes that people are not loving me as much as I'm loving them, it's actually not business. Relationships is give and take, right? Yes? How many of you agree relationships is give and take? Please raise your hand. Business is give and take? Yes? What's the difference between both of them then? Spirituality has taught me one very beautiful thing at the Brahma Kumaris. Relationship is not give and take. Relationship is only give, 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 and keep giving. And while giving, the first person who gets is me.
Beautiful.
That's when I get. So it's not give and then take. It's actually take and then give. This morning you chose that when we create anger, we are the first person who gets affected. So when I give anger to someone else, the first person who's getting it is me. So if I'm radiating love to someone else, who's the first person who's going to get it? Who's the first person who's going to get it? Me. We shifted our equation into relationship saying, getting love, getting trust, getting understanding. And we're standing like this in front of each other. We literally stand like this. And you know, जिनके सामने हम ऐसे खड़े हैं, वो कैसे खड़े हैं? Just create the scene. कि शाम को जाके जिनके सामने हम ऐसे खड़े हैं. Suppose you've had a very terrible, tough day, and you go home and you're standing in front of your spouse saying, be nice to me. Speak sweetly to me. Understand me that I've had a very tough day. And how is your spouse standing? They're standing like this in front of you. You understand me. Do you know what I went through the whole day? And then both of us go to our children and say, please speak nicely to me. So everyone's standing like this, in this direction. The direction had to be giving. I will speak nicely to me. I will understand you. I will respect you, not you respect me, you understand me. So just shifting from taking to giving, from begging to radiating, is going to raise the happiness quotient.
Yep, thank you, thank you. It's more about how can I be a source.
We are constantly a source. Whatever we are thinking, it's radiating.
Right.
Now the choice is only what do I want to think, because
Right.
it's going to radiate to the other person, reach the other person.
Right, thank you. So here's a question for both of you. It's like this, that if everyone remains happy and there's no stress, how will there be any improvement? You know, everyone's relaxed and joyous and, you know, chilled out, and everyone is accepting and loving. Say, hello, where's the improvement? Where's the evolutionary thrust? So this is for both of you. So Munjay first and then Shivani.
Well, I would love to see a world where everybody has become like that. We are not getting there soon. I think, see, improvement is, my belief is improvement is driven out of your vision for a better world, your vision for doing something. I think humans have, throughout the centuries have tried to eliminate things so that they can focus on higher order, higher purpose, higher things. So earlier we spent time maybe cooking, then we spent time traveling, then we spent time producing. Now we are going to spend even less time. Maybe we have less work to do, right? Because everything will get done by the machine. So we have had a desire to improve. That desire is not going to go away because we are driven by something much more fundamental, inherent to us. So I don't see that going out.
Okay. Shivani, what's your take on that?
Us experience some kind of physical pain or discomfort or illness? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
How would our work and targets and everything that brother said be if all of us were healthy? How would it be?
More productive.
This question is very paradoxical actually, It's like saying, how can we be more productive if we are all emotionally healthy? Because that's what that question means. If you're all happy and stable and calm and respecting each other, our productivity will
Go up.
answer dijiye. Our productivity
up.
will it will increase beyond what we can imagine. And more importantly is not only the productivity will increase, we will enjoy doing what we are doing. A lot of us are experiencing stress, depression, even nervous breakdown. I don't know whether you're aware, the current statistics is 1 in 4 is experiencing depression. When we say 1 in 4, it means 1 in a family. And 1 in a family which will mean that it will affect the entire family if 1 in a family is getting affected. And this has all happened from the time we're spending less time at home and more time at work. So the stress buster, the relaxation which we got at home, we're not getting that much today. If we can make our work environment like home, and which means a feeling of belongingness, a family feeling, then all these words stress and depression and all these words will disappear, because then we will be always at home, and which means always happy and relaxed. So never, this is, when we say positivity and happy, we think it means passive and laid back.
Absolutely.
It's not passive and laid back. Positivity means powerful. Positivity means high intuition power. Today we are only using logic. Industry is not working with logic. And that's why decisions made may not always give the right results, because it's only logic. Intuition will work when the mind is silent. The turbulent noise on top is quiet. I'm happy. We are together, respecting each other, team spirit. We would love to work with each other. Not, I have to work here. There would not be have to. It would be, I want to. So I think we only need to experience what will happen to the productivity.
Can I comment on this?
We
Yeah,
definitely
sure.
need to experience.
So, thanks for that. Before I hand it over to Munjay, the latest research has shown that companies that follow some of these values of joy, compassion, consciousness, teamwork at a very deep level outperform like to like by 10:1. 10 times more productive in performance. And companies that trust, where there's more trust, outperform like to like by 286%, 3 times almost. Right? So there's solid data corroborating what Sister Shivani just shared with us. Very hard, well-researched data. Over to you.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add that, stress in the workplace is, if you look deeper, is driven out of a deeper insecurity. It's about fear of being left behind, fear of being rejected, fear of not being able to be something. And that drives the stress, because you are always worried that, am I going to get something out of this? Am I going to get counted out, or am I going to be counted in? And that drives that. So if you can let go of that, and a lot of stress goes away, because then you're not worried about, you're not worried that I'm going to be left behind. And one of the things which I advise to a lot of people is that if you are getting too caught up in something and it's driving you crazy, you should just step out of that.
Yeah.
Just step out and say, I will not do this. I will not do this work. Because it's very dangerous to say that, because you might think that somebody is going to fire you because you have nothing to do. But you should step out and say, look, I'm not going to do this. I want to do something else. What that something else is, look back to your core purpose and say, this is why I want to do something else. It'll get me closer to what I'm trying to do.
Sure, thank you. Shivani, there's 3 questions which are related, so I'll just quickly summarize them for you. One is that, what is the mantra to accept your partner's nature? When you go on accepting, you feel you're becoming a victim. And again, related to that, we come across people who are just impossible, and our efforts towards creating acceptance for them have failed. How do we deal with such people? And again, related to that, in a team, there's somebody who's just not doing the documentation or just not performing their role. And how can we accept them? Isn't it a requirement of the project? What do we do? So please respond to that.
We need to understand what's the meaning of accept. Accept doesn't mean that let things be the way they are. Accept just means that situation and that person doesn't influence my state of being. The difference? Suppose there's something here which needs to be done, it needs to be done. Just because somebody is not doing it, I'm not going to say, I accept, so don't let it happen. No. Accept just means I will not get irritated.
Absolutely.
I will not lose my temper. I will not go up and down breathless, like brother just shared. I will instruct, or I will get the work done from somebody else, or I will do the work myself. Most important is I will get the outer work done, but first taking care of the inner world. I cannot afford to let my inner energies get disturbed by every situation and every person outside. So acceptance doesn't mean let things be the way they are. Acceptance just means take charge of yourself, don't get disturbed, now work on the thing. What we feel is we will be happy only when the thing gets resolved outside. So it's ये हो जाएगा तो मैं ठीक हो जाऊंगा. The equation is मुझे ठीक रहकर इसको ठीक करना है.
Beautiful, beautiful.
See, the equation is not outside in. We thought when situations are favorable, I will be happy. The equation is I will be stable and now try it out, sort out the situation to the best that is possible. And as far as the partner is concerned, spouse, 3 options: change the spouse, which many of us are doing today. Change the spouse, change the company, change the boss. Just recently I read an article. 5 years back, the divorce rate was 1 in 1,000 in India. 1 in 1,000 couples. 5 years down the line, it's 13 out of 1,000. And in the US, it's 500 out of 1,000. Because we chose this option, change the partner. Thinking that my next partner, very, very rarely, your next marriage turns out to be perfect. The only reason why it turns out to be perfect is the second time you accept more that you were doing the first time, because the second time you say, अब नहीं divorce हो सकता, हो गया अभी एक बार. So your acceptance level goes much higher. And I always share with couples, जितना accept second time किया, उतना ही acceptance अगर पहली बार कर लिया होता, ये सब चीज़ें करनी ही नहीं पड़ती. And it does happen once in a while that we have a partner whose sanskars are just absolutely opposite. But the more we will nurture them, accept them, because anyone who has turbulent sanskars has gone through a turbulent past. Even if a husband is physically violent with a wife, that means he's gone through something terrible in his past. That past could be his childhood, that past could be a past birth. So if you just look at it that this partner, this husband or wife is in a lot of pain, and let me be the counselor instead of just being a husband or a wife. Let me be a counselor to my partner. Let me be a counselor to my children. Otherwise today it's a status symbol. हमारे school में इतने counselors हैं. It's not a good sign in society that a child is not talking to the parents but going and talking to the counselor. Just one simple last line. What's the difference between a counselor and a parent? What's the difference between a counselor and a parent? Why would I go and talk to a counselor, not to my parent, if something's happened?
I'll cue you to look at these two.
They are non-judgmental, which means they accept you irrespective of the mistake that you have made. And that's why we're willing to talk to them. Why can't we all be a counselor to our wife, to our husband, to our children, to our team? It's very simple. And counselors are not able to counsel their own children. But if we want, we can all be counselors to our team, to our spouse, and it only means non-judgmental, non-critical, and which means acceptance and respect.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Really nice. There is, I think this thing about really being in a space of compassion and care, even with your spouse, I think it's so liberating. I think many of us would be liberated from all the constant bickering and judgment if we did what Shivani told us. In fact, a person got married and he's just coming out after the marriage and he tells his wife, darling, now you and I are one, and I am that one. But I think the kind of oneness that Shivani is talking about is, can I really be anchored in the spirit? Can I be anchored in the love and compassion that we all are at heart? And from that space of acceptance, can we then deal with what has to be done in a creative way? So I just want to check if the understanding is correct. A person has asked a question that what would happen if somebody is coming late constantly? He's constantly coming late and it's affecting the work. So if I understood you right, it means that first be in an anchored space of joy, then look at that situation, give the person data that you're coming late, show him how it's affecting the work, and then maybe invite him to look at, can he do something differently, but always working from happiness. Not saying that if he comes on time, then I'll be happy. Many times we work for happiness, and not from happiness. I think what I heard Sister Shivani says, can we work from happiness? Can we work from joy, irrespective of what's happening? So is that understanding correct?
It's all perfect, and just one more addition to that. Create a very pure thought for that person who's coming late.
Beautiful.
You know what we do is, कल से time पे ज़रूर आना, and अंदर से we create a thought. मालूम है मुझे कल भी क्या होने वाला है. That thought radiates to the other person. 99% that person will come late tomorrow, and then we will say मुझे मालूम था कि ये late ही आने वाला है.
Absolutely.
So thoughts are very important, and that's why firm belief in myself and also a lot of faith and belief in the other person. Radiate your positivity to them for them to be able to change their sanskar. That is healing. Even a simple thing like your child comes and says, Kal mera exam hai. So we say, all the best, God bless you. So that's blessings. And andar se, pata nahi is bar kya hone wala hai, pada hi nahi pura saal. So we are not giving blessings, we are giving the opposite of blessings. So what we are creating here radiates to the other person. To dhyan se sochna hai, kya sochte hain.
Thank you, thank you. There's another set of questions which I've just given to Munjay to respond to around the theme that happiness at work versus higher purpose, ambition, and balance and stress. So would you like to respond to that, please?
Sure. Yeah, I think the question is, in life to achieve your purpose, you need support of colleagues, families, and how do you ensure people support you? And in some cases people don't, then what do you do about it? I think it's a very, first of all, I mean, if you're trying to undertake something grander and you have no idea how to get there, a lot of times it happens, we don't know. You have to make sure that people around you are on board of what you're trying to do. You should discuss it, you should talk about what you're trying to achieve, and express it, because the purpose has to be expressed so that people understand what is it that you're trying to do. And sometimes you may have people who may not agree with what you're trying to do. See, one of the, and I see this in a, probably linked up to the conflict as well. A lot of times we think that if I am confronting somebody with data, that means I am rejecting that person, I'm actually telling him get out, which is not the case. We don't have to agree all the time with people. We have to say that, look, if you're not doing something, then we need to get this done. But if you're not able to do that, for whatever reason, maybe sometimes if you talk properly and tell them, they will tell you that, look, I have a problem. And in that case, either you step in, and if you're trying to be a leader, you should step in. And you should solve the problem, rather than trying to bring somebody from outside to solve the problem. The right leadership is, and that's how you are able to then demonstrate to those people who are not able to do these things, that saying, hey, I have a problem, but this team needs something bigger than what I'm trying to fight, and I need to somehow pull myself to get this done, because my leader is actually getting in the trenches to do this. So, somehow this balancing is very important, and you will have to build up people who are aligned to that purpose. And my belief is that karma starts with one person.
Absolutely.
Rest join.
Yeah.
And if people are going to be bystander, you should not worry about it. Okay, it's not about trying to be popular, it's about trying to be right. It's about trying to make sure that they understand your point of view, why you are trying to do that. They acknowledge it, they may disagree with it. That doesn't mean they are telling you that you are not the right person. When somebody disagrees, it's absolutely fine. I mean, I look at it from that perspective, that somebody says, no, I don't agree with what you're saying. It's absolutely fine. People walk into our office and they disagree all the time, and they are okay to disagree. And they know it. They will not get victimized. They don't have to agree with me. We are absolutely fine to handle fundamental disagreement, because that's very important. So leadership is about that. You have to drive that purpose. And I think there is one very, I don't know if it is a very deeper question about consciousness and trying to be exist. I think one thing we should acknowledge, that we are not perfect. It's extremely, extremely important that we are not perfect. If we acknowledge it that we are not perfect, every time, moment I finish speaking a sentence, I need to think about how can I make it better. If you can take this, then this imperfection exists in each one of us. Then all you are trying to do is improve that perfection. Then there is no stress. Then it's not about, oh, I have to drive this goal. All we are saying is, can we become better than yesterday? Can we become better than that last second that we were in? If you can do that, all this stress about conflict, everything disappears, because your fundamental desire is to become better, and make everybody around you better, your society better, your people better. So imperfection is inherent in us as a human, and all we are trying to do is improve that imperfection, trying to be perfect. I don't know when we will get there, maybe never, but that's the intention, that try to become perfect.
So, Mujhe, just this slightly contrarian view, and that is that if we say that deep down at our core, we are perfect, and we kind of relax into that deeper understanding, and then we say, and everything can be improved. Would that work?
See, when I say imperfection, I'm saying if I see my existence today, for example, okay, I wouldn't call I'm perfect in every sense that I am, as I exist today as a person. Am I aware of those imperfections? I'm trying to improve upon it? Absolutely. And that is very important. If you become perfect, and if you can, and that probably is a journey. Maybe Gautam Buddha was perfect. Maybe Lord Mahavira was perfect. Maybe there are other people who are perfect whom I have not met. I have not experienced perfection myself. I'm not perfect. But I believe that we should acknowledge that we are imperfect, everybody around is imperfect, and we are all trying to become better. Nobody sits there and says, okay, let me become worse than yesterday. Nobody does that. I'm sure all of you are trying to become better. Nobody says, okay, I'm going to become bad and I'm going to become even worse than yesterday. I have met people who are Bahubalis. You know what a Bahubali is? You understand that term, Bahubali? Mafia kings. Okay? There are people who run a mafia empire. I've sat next to them, had a 1-hour chat with them about their life. They're also trying to become perfect. They're trying to improve.
Yeah.
The yardsticks are different, but they're trying to improve.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, actually many other questions have come, which we won't have time for them, like non-veg khana sahi hai ya galat hai, comment on happiness at work versus being ambitious. Many times I sleep more than 8 hours, but still feel it's not enough, and what should I do so that I can get up fresh and early? I think Praveen has the answer to that on pranayam. Then there's something about Tata Steel and so on. But I think one question I'd like to pose for Sister Shivani to wrap up this, and then I'll say a few words, is many times we have the knowledge of what we should be doing. We sometimes make the effort. But then when we are not able to do it and we slip, it creates a very negative feeling deep inside. Kindly help us to understand how to get over this and move on.
As long as we are on the right journey, where we understand that happiness is not coming from achievement. You know, when we hear the word happiness, it looks like a state of some joy and excitement. Happiness just means the mind is stable. It's not going like this. Kyun, kya, aise, waise, kyun, mere saath kyun. And when it's not that, it's silent, that is happiness. Happiness is not excitement. If we just treat each day understanding that I'm not going to be happy when I achieve X, Y, Z in my career, when my child comes first in class, when. It's not happiness will come when these things happen, but I am happy and now I go to work today. So it's a completely different way of living. One is I will be happy when I complete this work, and one is I'm happy while doing this work. And if by chance the work doesn't get completed, my happiness was never dependent on it anyways. So then my whole running in this competing race that we are doing with each other, it becomes very futile. We realize that it's worthless. Why are we running against each other? Because we thought whoever reaches first will be happier. Not necessary. Go and meet some people who've really reached the top. The only thing that they're looking for today is peace of mind and happiness. I met someone recently who's in McKinsey at a very, very senior position. He topped IIT, topped IIM. He's achieved everything and he's less than 40 today. I said, congratulations. He said, but andar bahut khali khali lagta hai. And now he doesn't even know kya kare ab isko bharne ke liye. Because sab kuch to achieve kar liya. Because we thought ye hoga, ye hoga, ye hoga, to then I will be happy. Go and talk to the people who've achieved all that. And then we'll realize that that was not the equation. So I am happy, stable, now going to work, Going to work to radiate, like brother said, purpose of our life. Purpose of our life is to radiate these beautiful original quality of ours to everyone we meet and in our work. And work actually comes last on the priority list. But when the top order is right, the last one automatically happens. वो अपने आप हो जाएगा. You won't come to know. जिसके लिए हम कहते हैं मेहनत कम, सफलता ज़्यादा. नहीं तो आज मेहनत ज़्यादा and safalta come, because an emotionally weak, physically tired, working hard. The line, sleeping 8 hours and still feeling sleepy, because the body slept for 8 hours. The mind was in the 5th gear the whole day, so even if those 8 hours of sleep, the mind was still thinking, it's not slept, it's not charged. So when I get up in the morning, I'm going to feel like sleeping 5 minutes more. Anyone feels like sleeping 5 minutes more? And that's why it says 90% of the people today are sleep deprived. Sleep deprived because we're not sleeping. The mind is not sleeping and constantly talking. Because as will be the day, so will be the night. As will be the state of mind during the day, so will be the state of mind during the night. So will be the state of the mind during the next day. And then becomes a vicious cycle of being tired and depleting and having to go to work. And just quick, that one question, should we eat non-veg? A very personal decision. But just to think that vibrations of anger, hatred, hurt, resentment in the name of health. Just think, if we had to be tied here and we know that we're going to die after 1 week, they're going to kill us. क्या क्या क्रिएट होगा अंदर? क्या क्या क्रिएट होगा अंदर? नफरत, hatred, anger, resentment, hurt, pain, and फिर उसको डेकोरेट करके हमने खा लिया. So we get the proteins and the carbohydrates, but we also get all these emotions. Food plays an extremely, extremely important part on our mind. जैसा अन्न Vaisa man. This is a very powerful line to experiment with. You all must be aware that when there is a death in a family, and as long as the body is there at home, the food is not cooked in that house, right? Yes? It's only after the funeral that the kitchen will open. And that too after you've had a bath and cleansed and washed the house. There must be some logic. It's toxic. It's poison. We can't cook when the dead body is at home. If we can't cook when the dead body is at home, how can we cook the dead body and eat it? How can we do that? What are we putting inside? Just experiment for 3 months with a high energy diet. Just experiment, a high energy diet. And just see what the result is and then take the decision.
Thank you very much, sister. You know, this Jaisa An Vaisa Man reminded me of another thing I've seen in the Brahma Kumari establishments, Antar Mukhi Sada Sukhi. The more I look inside and tap into this energy, I'll be happy no matter what's happening. So many, many thanks, Sister Shivani, Mrityunjay. Deeply grateful for this scintillating response to the questions. And if you have any questions, Janardhan Bhai will give you the website. Please feel free to send the questions to us, and we'll be happy to respond. Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch.